Hi everyone, this is Mindy and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I have two cards that I'm going to create for you, and one of them is going to be ink blended on a colored cardstock. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Now the products that I'm using are from Pretty Pink Posh, starting with the Layered Watermelons stencil. Then I have the Watermelon stamp set. An oldie but a goodie is Be Friends, and then I have the Spring Circles die. So I'm going to start with my background and the layering stencil. So this is a 3-piece layering stencil. They are labeled down in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm really drawn to watermelons thanks to my mom because she loves watermelons. So the first cardstock I'm going to use is just a piece of white Hammermill cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I put a little bit of repositionable tape on the back to hold that down to my magnetic work surface and place the first stencil over the top. Now I am coming in with a blending brush and picked raspberry distress ink. So I'm using the distress ink for the white background. It's going to give me some nice vibrant color. And then I'm going to bring in the second layer of the stencil. And for that one, I'm doing Twisted Citron, again with the Distress inks. Then I'll bring in the last layer of the stencil, which is going to be the seeds of the watermelon. So for that, I am using Black Soot. Now, you don't want to go too heavy-handed like I did because sometimes the bristles can go underneath the stencil and you could smear it. So just be mindful of that. Now, I thought I would try something a little different, and that is blending on colored cardstock. So this is Glacier Cardstock from Spellbinders, and I am going to be bringing in the same colors, but in the Oxide formulation. So this is picked raspberry and distress oxide. Now I switched up my blending tool to a dome foam blending tool because I just found I got more of that ink onto the background. The brushes kind of gave it more of a softer look. Now, one of the reasons I am using oxides on top of the colored cardstock is oxides tend to sit more on top of the cardstock. Now, with the black soot, I did have to bring in a blending brush because the dome foam just didn't really get into those small areas. So once I remove my stencil, you could see a side-by-side comparison here on how great both of these backgrounds look, but that watermelon, that pink and green on the Glacier cardstock, which is a light blue, really turned out well. I have a couple images from the Be Friends stamp set. It is an oldie but a goodie, and I thought these bees would look super cute with the watermelons because the watermelons are kind of sweet and the bees attracted to sweet things, so I thought that'd be kind of cute. So I'm stamping them in an alcohol-friendly ink, and I'm going to stamp multiples of them. I thought I would have more on the front of my card than I end up doing. And I'm just going to color these in yellow. I wanted that head to be yellow, so I did every other there because I wanted to make sure that the eyes and the mouth stood out. Then I'll come in with some light grays and do the stripes and also the stinger. So I'm using my Copic markers today for this. And then for the wings, I'm going to outline them in a light teal blue. I think it was like BG11. I started by just doing the parts that were closest to the body, but then I went back through and just did an outline around them. I didn't color them in, just drew that single outline. There is a coordinating die for this set, so I am going to line those up with my bees, and I'm going to hold them down with some Easy C tape and run these through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. So I'll need to do this multiple times to cut out all of the bees. Then I'm also going to take the shape off of that Spring Circles die set, and I am going to die cut this out 4 times. The main reason I was die cutting it out so much is I wanted to layer them together. I need one for each card, but I wanted to put a layer behind it. It's going to come in super helpful that I had that extra die cut piece. Now I'm going through and kind of lining up about how I want the card to look and where I want the sentiment to go. The sentiment is coming off of that watermelon stamp set. So I placed this over into my Misti tool, and I kind of skipped my mess up because I lined up both sentiments at the same time, stamped them at the same time, and it ended up being crooked. So I chucked those. I have my extras here, and I'm stamping the word melon first, making sure that was nice and straight. So I'm going to do this twice, and then I can bring in that smaller sentiment. And I'm also going to bring in a Misti ruler to help push that down so it lines up straight. So I'll pick that up with the door of the Misti, remove my ruler, and then I can stamp this down. Now I think it ends up still being just a little bit crooked, but not by much. So I'm gonna roll with it because I didn't want to die cut out another piece. So hopefully nobody notices. Now I'm adding some tape runner behind my good piece, and I'm going to layer that on top of the piece that I stamped crooked. My stenciled backgrounds, I had trimmed it down to, I think it was about 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I layered with another piece of cardstock for stability. I'm adding some tape runner to the back and then attaching this to a white card base. Now, this is an actual folded card base, so I did tape those shut to make sure that the card base, the card front didn't pop open, and it was a lot easier to line this up straight and make sure my margins were even. Then I added tape runner behind my sentiment piece, always making sure that I'm attaching it to the right side of the card and not upside down. I'll do that for both of them. And I was really indecisive at this point about my bees. So I went ahead, and while I was thinking about it, I added some thin foam squares, and then I brought them in. And I love the arrangement of the bees, but I started thinking that 3 of them on each card was just too much. It was almost too busy of a background. So I ended up just picking one, and I placed them underneath the sentiment, and the rest I'll just save for another project. I really love how both of these cards turned out. The one with the bright white background, so the color really stands out, but I also really love how the oxides turned out on colored cardstock. So if you haven't tried that, I highly recommend giving that a try. All of the supplies that I used today in the video will be listed down below in the video description and over on my blog, which is linked in the video as well. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I'll see you again next time.